Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar all about shared parental leave and pay and how to process this in Sage 50 Payroll. My name's Duncan. I'm your host and presenter for the webinar today, and I am joined by my colleagues Louise and Laura, who are both standing by in the background on questions duty today. Let's take a look at what we're going to cover in the webinar. So we'll start with an introduction to shared parental leave and pay, and we'll run through some of the legislation and qualifying conditions. And then for the rest of the webinar, it's all about how to deal with this in Sage 50 Payroll. So we're going to take a look at how to set it up by recording the shared parental details, how to process the shared parental pay within your payroll and make any necessary adjustments. And then we'll finish with the process for reclaiming shared parental pay, which works in the exact same way as other parental payments such as maternity or paternity. I'll take you through where you can find further support, and we should have some time at the end to stick around and make sure we've answered all of your questions. So let's get straight on to the introduction. So this webinar is all around shared parental leave and mostly focusing on shared parental pay. So SPL is short for shared parental leave, which is an entitlement of up to 50 weeks that can be taken and shared between a mother adopter and their partner. Whereas SHPP stands for statutory shared parental pay, and that's an entitlement of up to 37 weeks at statutory rates that can be paid to either parent. So the way that it works is this enables a mother or an adopter to officially end their maternity or adoption leave early, but then share the remaining week's pay and leave with their partner. So it gives them a lot more flexibility compared to what they would have if they just stuck on maternity or adoption pay, which is a continuous 39 weeks, with the partner just taking the 2 weeks of paternity pay. Now, a quick note, shared parental pay actually replaced additional statutory paternity pay back in April 2015. So the only paternity pay an employee would get would be the 2 weeks, but they can then take shared parental pay if the mother or main adopter chooses to end their maternity or adoption leave early. So quick look at the eligibility for this. So employees will be eligible to receive the shared parental pay if one of the following applies. So one, they're eligible for statutory maternity pay or adoption pay themselves. So this is where the mother or main adopter is switching over to shared parental pay. Or for a partner, they're eligible for statutory paternity pay and their partner was eligible for either SMP, maternity allowance, or statutory adoption pay. So as a general rule of thumb, if they were entitled to the original statutory payment, maternity, adoption, or paternity, they would also be eligible for shared parental pay. Now, it is paid at a standard rate, which for the 2023 to 24 tax year is £172.48 per week, or 90% of an employee's average weekly earnings, whichever is lower. So how does an employee get shared parental pay? Well, as mentioned, the mother or adopter must end their statutory maternity or adoption pay and either return to work or give binding notice of the date that they will do this. Both parents will then need to give you at least 8 weeks written notice of their entitlement to take shared parental leave and pay. And then they will then tell you with that request how they intend to share the leave and pay between them. So it sounds pretty complicated, but there are some really good forms available from ACAS, which can be used as a template. You can adapt it to create your own form, and that allows your employees to give the notice and also set out how they're going to share this pay out. So for a mother, for example, they may not be returning to work. They might just be switching straight away to shared parental pay, or they could come back to work. The partner could then take over some leave, and they would actually be able to share blocks of leave between them. So when can they take it? Well, each parent can take up to 3 separate blocks of leave, This can be taken at different times or at the same time as the other parent. So this scheme enables them to be off at the same time and both receive the statutory payment. And to give you some visual examples, this is how the leave would look if they only went with the maternity or adoption pay and statutory paternity pay. So the mother or adopter would get up to 39 weeks of a continuous block of leave, and the partner within 8 weeks of the birth of the child can take 1 or 2 weeks of statutory paternity pay. If they choose to take the shared parental pay, this is one way that it could look. So the mother or adopter has decided to end their maternity or adoption early. They've got some weeks remaining, which could then be transferred to the partner to take at any time within a year of the baby's birth. They might choose to take some of the shared leave themselves, so they could officially end the maternity or adoption, and then both parents could be off at the same time for a period of time, and they're sharing out the remaining pay and leave between them. And if they choose to take it in blocks, they could take blocks at the same time, they could stagger it out, and of course, they could use annual leave at various points in between here as well. So just a few examples there of when they might choose to take the leave. But I do want to show you the request form that I mentioned earlier, which you can find on the ACAS website. This is linked to in your handout. So there are shared parental leave forms and templates for parents. So for maternity, adoption, or surrogacy. And I'll show you an example of a form that I've kind of filled in. So it gives you instructions about which of the 4 forms need to be completed, depending on whether both parents are taking shared parental leave, just the birth parent wants to take it, or just the partner wants to take it. And in my example, I've gone with just the partner taking shared parental leave. So it tells you forms 1, 3, and 4 would need to be filled in. So form 1 just confirms that the maternity leave is being curtailed. So the mother in this case has taken 33 weeks. They're ending their maternity leave on the 19th of November. It shows how many weeks of that leave has been taken. So we know from that there will be 6 weeks remaining. Form 2 wasn't applicable to this scenario. Form 3 is just a notice confirming that the partner will be taking all of the shared parental leave and the birth parent or mother is not. And then form 4 in this example, this is a request for a partner to take some shared parental leave. So they've got the same dates, they've established that 6 weeks are remaining, and they've set out through what dates they would like to take that leave. So if you haven't already, I would get some copies of these forms. You could adapt them for your own use if you want to, but this is the form that an employee would fill in to give their notice and their intentions and the dates that they would like to take the leave. So that's just a little bit about how it works, and if you want to read up more about the legislation around it, I would recommend you either look on the gov.uk website or the ACAS website. But what we're going to focus on is really how to deal with this in your Sage 50 payroll program. So when it comes to setting up SHPP, there's really 3 stages involved, and the process is slightly different depending on whether you're setting it up for a mother or adopter who's switching to shared parental leave and pay, or whether it's a partner, which has kind of taken over some of the shared entitlement. So in the case of mother or adopter, you would need to enter the return to work date. They might not necessarily be returning on that date, they might just be switching to shared leave, but the date that they're curtailing, their SMP or SAP, and if you haven't already done so, you need to record the baby's date of birth. You would then enter the shared parental pay details, which will include confirmation you've received a declaration, the number of weeks available and being taken, and some partner details. And then the third stage is to record the dates that they intend to take this leave. So remember, it can be blocks of leave. So this is set up much like sick pay, in that you record dates on the absence diary, and those entries are used to calculate the amount due. So very similar for the partner. Just need to check that the SPP details have been entered, which establishes the entitlement, and then the same process, shared parental pay details, and then the dates of absence. So let's take a look at setting this up. So I'm going to set it up for both of these scenarios. So if I just bring these pages down, and you'll see that I'm already logged into my payroll. So the same as any other statutory payment, the pay will be calculated up to your process date. So I've already set my process date to the last day of the month, because that is the date that my employees get paid. Now, if you've been on our other webinars, you will know that there are some quick entry screens for maternity, paternity, adoption or sickness. There isn't with shared parental. So this is all set up within the employee record. So I'm going to start with a partner who is going to be taking over some leave and pay from the mother of their child. And if we open up the employee record for this particular employee, I'm just going to head to the absence tab, and then we go to the area where the original statutory payment was set up. So in this case, it's SPP. And you can see I've got the statutory paternity pay details entered. They took this back in April. They had their full 2 weeks at the time. And you'll see here that there's an option to enter shared parental pay. So what we do here is we tick the box to say we've received the declaration. So we will have received the form that goes to the partner's employer. So remember, both parents aren't necessarily going to work for the same employer. In fact, more often than not, they'll probably work for different employers. So we just deal with the person that we employ, and we use the information that they've entered on their form. So what they've told us on the form is that there were 6 weeks of shared pay available, and they intend to take 6 weeks. So that's what's available. That's what they're going to take. The weeks recorded, we don't fill in, because we're going to record that separately on the absence diary. And then we go ahead and we enter the partner details. So this is the partner. National insurance number should be provided on the form. And that is then establishing that this employee has an entitlement to shared parental pay. So I'd click OK to save those details. I then click OK again. And that's going to return us back to the absence diary. So what you then need to do is you need to record the dates that they're going to take. So in this example, the employee is just taking the remaining 6 weeks all as one block. And they have told me, and this has worked out quite well for them, that that's going to start on the 20th of November, and it's going to run right through to the 31st of December. So they've got the rest of the year off, looking after the little one. So we're going to put the diary entries in, which you can do one of two ways. So one way is just to click diary entry, and then in the absence type, you'll need to choose other, and then choose shared parental, which is right down towards the bottom. And then we can put the dates in. So let's just put 20th of November 2023 to 31st of December 2023. You can add a comment if you want to record that. And you can see it has added the diary entries. Now this is where it's similar to sick pay. So they appear in lowercase letters until it becomes historical information. So we've got shared parental absence, 6 weeks in total. And this month, it will pay the amount due up to our process date. So if I just save that absence and go back into the shared parental details where I was before, so SPP, shared parental pay, you can see that the weeks recorded now shows 6, and it's picked that up from the diary entries that I've entered. So everything's good here. They had 6 weeks, they're taking 6 weeks. There are 6 weeks recorded. And then that can then be processed in our next pay run. So let's just set it up for another employee. So this time we employ the mother of the child. They have taken some of their maternity leave, and they do need to take at least 2 weeks from the date of the baby's birth, 4 weeks if they're a factory worker. They've decided, though, that they're going to officially end their statutory maternity pay after 6 weeks, and they intend to share the remaining 33 weeks of pay with their partner. So they're splitting it out. She's going to take 13 weeks, partner's going to take 20. So in this case, the employee who has been on maternity leave is employee 4. So we're just going to open up the employee record. We're going to go to the absence tab. And then at the bottom of the screen, the original statutory payment was maternity in this case. So I'm going to click onto SMP. So as you can see, we've got most of the SMP details entered, but there's no option for shared parental pay right now. And the reason for that is there's 2 bits of information we need to record. So first of all, we need the baby's born on date. So let's say baby arrived a day late on the 3rd of October. And we're going to enter the return to work date. So this is the date that they would have come back to work if they weren't going on shared parental leave. So in this case, I would look back to the form, and it's going to be the 6th of November, would have been the date that they returned. I'm just going to flick between the tabs there because it hadn't quite come up. But by entering this information, the return to work date, it then establishes that there is some maternity pay remaining, 33 weeks of paid leave. This is a total amount that can be shared, and we now have the option to enter our shared parental pay details. So born on date, return to work date entered, we click onto shared parental pay, and like before, we tick the box to say that we've received the declaration. We already know how many weeks are available because we employ the mother or main adopter, so we know there's 33 weeks in total, but they have said on their form that they're going to take 12. No, they're going to take 13, and their partner's going to take 20. So 33 was available, 13 is being taken. Let's pop the partner details in. And the NI number. We can then click OK. And click OK to save that information. So that establishes the entitlement, and then just like before, we can start to record the absence. So this employee has decided to take one single block. So we just need to do one diary entry. Or the other way we could record this is by clicking and dragging on the diary. So they're going to start this on the 6th of November, and 13 weeks later, it's going to take them up to the 4th of February. Where's that? Which is just here. So I've selected those dates on the diary just to show the other way of doing this. And I can right click, go to absence, shared parental, and then full day. So again, we've got the lowercase characters. And if I go back in to the shared parental pay information, we can see that I've got the dates right. It is 13 weeks that I've recorded. So that's showing just here. And it means that that will be paid on our next pay run. So that is the setup process. Let's just take a pause and recap that on the slide, which of course is available to download as a handout. So you'd enter return to work date, baby's date of birth, if not already entered for the mother or adopter, or you would simply check that the SPP or SPPA details have been recorded. You then go to that shared parental pay section where you enter the information requested, and then it is diary entries to record the dates of leave that they are taking. So next up, we're going to look at how that fits into the payroll process, and we'll briefly touch on adjusting other payments. So just to keep this simple, we'll start by setting our process date to the date the employee is paid. The statutory payment will calculate up to that date. We can then check the shared parental pay amount. Now that's found on the SSP Parental Leave tab. So you'll see the amount payable and the number of weeks. And then your third step is to make any adjustments to basic pay where required. So let's take a look at that now. So I'm on my payroll tasks, and I'm going to select both of the employees who are on shared parental leave. Going into the enter payment screen, and you can see for the first employee, I currently have the full salary entered. If I click onto the SSP Parental Leave tab, we can see that we have got an amount payable. So it's 1.571 weeks, or in other words, a week and 4 days. So from this date up until our pay date, and at the standard rate, that works out at £271.04. Now you can also see that amount on the summary tab under the shared parental pay section. And similar to all other statutory payments, if you want to make up to an employee's full pay for the period of this leave, you do have access to the make up basic option on the summary tab. So if the employee, as part of their contract, is entitled to full pay whilst on shared parental leave, you could simply enter their full salary, which I have done here. You can come to the summary tab and you can click make up basic. When you click yes to continue, that reduces the basic pay by the amount of statutory pay, leaving them with their full pay amount. But you may not have a company shared parental scheme, so you may only want to pay them the shared parental pay for the period they are off, in which case you would do a manual adjustment to the employee's pay so that you're only paying them for the days or the hours that they've worked in this period. So for this particular employee, they might have worked 13 out of 24 days, or 22 days in the month. So I could do an adjustment to the hours or the rate value, and that would reduce the salary accordingly. And then next month, if they're off for the full month on parental leave, which I think they possibly are, I could then further reduce that down to 0 so that they only receive their shared parental pay. So moving on to the next employee, if I click save/next, now remember this employee was previously on maternity leave. We weren't making up to basic, which is why I've set the salary to 0. And if we look at the summary tab, we've still got some statutory maternity pay. So this is being paid up to the 5th of November. And their shared parental pay is kicking in from the 6th. And you can see that on the absence diary. So 3.571 weeks at the standard rate. So with this one, I'm not going to make any adjustments, but you could, if you wanted to, you could use make up basic if that's an arrangement you have with your employee. And you can see here that we have got a tax refund because they're now down to the standard rate. And if we just drill down the maternity pay, you'll see that it has stopped it at 6 weeks because that's when we entered the return to work date. So they've been quite sensible here. They've used their higher rate of SMP, which you get for the first 6 weeks. And then they've decided that they want to be more flexible after that and share out the leave that was left. So I'll quickly show you some of the reports that show this information. It looks pretty much identical to maternity and paternity. So if I go into my pre-update reports, we'll take a look at the pay slips. So it just has the generic label parental pay. So this is a statutory amount. This is the amount that I adjusted manually. And then for the other employee, it doesn't even break down between maternity and shared parental. just gives the total parental pay as this figure here. That's all a statutory payment, which of course we'll be able to reclaim at the end of the month. And then payment summary reports will include these amounts in the parental pay column. So you can see here, parental payments includes that maternity pay and the shared parental pay for both those employees. So I will just complete the pay run for this period by updating the records. So we're doing the usual way. You would submit your full payment submission. Now remember, this won't submit anything about the amounts you're reclaiming. This will just show the total liability based on tax, national insurance and student loans. And I just want to show you for those two employees, if I go to the absence screen, this is where it's similar to sick pay. That's now historical absence, so it appears in uppercase. With the future absence, it'll be paid in the next pay periods, still showing in lowercase. So this statutory payment is kind of a bit of a mixture between parental payment and sick pay when it comes to recording the information. So you're doing some diary entry, but you're entering the entitlement information in the employee record. So yeah, that's processing shared parental pay. We set the process date. Keep in mind it calculates up to that date. We checked the SHPP amount, which is on the SSP parental leave tab. You can also see the total on the summary tab, and then adjusting the payments in the same way you'd make adjustments for any other statutory payment. So we're going to finish this demo on reclaiming the statutory payment. And as a reminder, all employers can reclaim at least some of the statutory parental payments that are paid out. So that's maternity, paternity, adoption, shared parental pay, and parental bereavement pay. The standard reclaim is 92%. But if you qualify for small employers relief, you get 103% of the payment back. You qualify for that if your total national insurance contributions were £45,000 or less in the tax year before the qualifying or matching week. And you'll need to tick a box in your company settings if you qualify for that relief, and you need to do that before you process the payment. So something worth checking, probably check this at the point you processed the maternity or paternity. And when it gets to the end of the month, once you've completed your payroll for that month, you'd run a P32 report, and this shows you the amounts that you've recovered. So it'll include the NIC compensation if you get that small employer's relief, but you will need to report those values to HMRC by sending an EPS, an employer payment summary, which needs to be sent no later than the 19th of the following calendar month. So let's have a look at how that's working out for our employees. So we've completed our November pay run. Last updated, last FPS is showing the 30th of November. To run the P32, you could use this quick link, which you'll find in the payroll links, or you can go into your main reports. So I'm going to run it from here. It's for tax month 8 in this example. And then if I just zoom in slightly for you, you can see that this month I have paid and recovered some SMP, and I've also paid and recovered some shared parental pay. So these amounts here were not included in that FPS that I just sent. They have reduced the total amount due because I'm reclaiming them, and as such I will need to do an EPS submission to report those values. So EPS also has a quick link if you're on the payroll tasks, or you can go to e-submissions and you can click employer payment summary. We would complete the wizard saying that we're adjusting this payment as we've recovered statutory pay. It displays the tax month, and then it shows us the amounts recovered, and these are year-to-date values. So previously in the year, I'd recovered maternity and paternity pay, and there's a bit more SMP being recovered this month, so that cumulative total will have increased compared to last month. And then I've got shared parental pay being reclaimed this month, and I'll still be reclaiming this in the following months as the employees will still be on leave. So this is what we've reclaimed for the tax year to date. You've got your CIS deductions suffered where applicable and apprenticeship levy payments. And if we complete that wizard, you can just ignore that warning, it'll take you into the EPS submission screen. It shows you your company details, and then we can go ahead and submit. So that is then sent to HMRC. They can then adjust our liability because they'll be aware of the amounts we've reclaimed, and then you'll be able to view that information on your PAYE online account when it's time to make your payment. So that is reclaiming the payment, and then you repeat these steps in future months, future weeks, whenever you are paying and reclaiming a statutory parental payment. And that is about it for the presentation. So we've had a look through some of the legislation and qualifying conditions. We've seen how to record shared parental details and the dates that employees taken their leave. And then we've seen where to check that and adjust it in enter payments and reclaim the amount at the end of the month. I'm going to quickly run through some further support before we take a look through the questions and make sure they're all answered. So best place for you to get support is on our online help center, which you can access by clicking any help icon that you see within Sage 50 Payroll, or from your browser or mobile phone or whatever device you're using, you can go to sage.co.uk/help, and you can follow the links for Sage 50 Payroll. So from there, you can search for knowledge-based articles. You can read our support guides. If you're interested in attending more webinars, we've got a few more coming up this year. You can click the webinars option at the top of the help center. And from there, you'll even find a link to recent recordings. If you need to get in touch with the support team for any reason, you'll find all their contact details on the help center also. So great site to bookmark, or you've got it at the click of a button within Sage 50 Payroll by clicking on any help icon. Also, to make you aware that we have a Sage University out there, which is included in your Sage membership. So all you need to do to log on is to create a profile. You can do that at www.sageu.com. We have a number of e-learning courses for Sage 50 Payroll, 50 accounts, and other Sage software. You can do online certification, and there's even some bite-sized learning courses giving you snippets of information about smaller topics. So do check out SageU, sageu.com, if you haven't already done so. So we have got a bit of time left from our scheduled 45 minutes, so we're going to use that time just to make sure that we've provided answers to the questions. If you have asked all your questions and you're ready to leave now, please feel free to go. And if you want to, you can download a handout before you do that. And if you do see a survey that appears as you leave, please do consider taking a moment just to leave some feedback, as that will help us improve these sessions going forward. So I'm going to go on to mute just briefly while we look through the questions, and I'll be back with you very shortly. Hello everyone again, and thanks for sending through those questions. I can see that most of them have been answered. I have spotted one around entering shared parental pay manually. So I thought I'd do a quick demo on that one. So in some circumstances, you might have set up manual statutory payments because you might have calculated it using HMRC's website, and you just want to type an amount in. So it's the same principle that applies if it's shared parental leave. So if I just bring these slides down, I've just quickly set this up. So I've got an employee here where in the SMP details, we've got it ticked, set to manual SMP. And let's assume in the past I've just typed the amount of SMP in that I want them to receive each period. You don't need to necessarily record all of these details. You can still go in and record the partner details for SPP. So pop them in, but you wouldn't need to put the entitlement details in because you're doing it manually. And then what you can do when you come to enter the payments, similar to what you'd have done with maternity, is go to the summary, click on your shared parental pay, type in the amount you manually calculated. So it's your responsibility to ensure you are paying the correct amount. So do use HMRC's calculators or whatever tools you have available. But if you needed it to do it manually, you can do so from here. So I type an amount in, and that is my shared parental pay. So I hope that helps answer the question about the manual payment. So looking at the questions, I don't think we've had many through in the last few moments. Can see one, can you record just the leave, but you don't want to share the pay? You could use the absence diary. Maybe you would use a custom absence type for the unpaid parental leave. The way it's designed is when you record parental leave, it will use that diary entry to calculate the shared parental pay. But if you just wanted records that they're off on the unpaid portion of shared parental leave, they've used up all of the pay, you could record that as a custom absence on the absence diary. So that's maybe an option for you. Okay, so as we haven't had questions through the last few minutes, I think we're going to wrap things up. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all for attending the webinar today. And if you've been to our other statutory parental pay webinars, I hope you enjoyed those as well. If you could take a moment to complete any survey that appears as you exit the webinar, I'd very much appreciate that, as we use all of your feedback to improve these sessions moving forward. We will send you a follow-up email later today, which will include a link to the recording of today's session. Also includes a link to register for future webinars. You can do that from our help centre, or you can go to sage.co.uk/webinars to see what's available. So do check that out. You can even see our recent recordings. We will wrap it up there. Thanks once again. Thanks to Louise and Laura answering the questions in the background. And hopefully we'll see you all again for another webinar in the very near future. So goodbye for now.